Are you stuck or struggling with a really frustrating creative block at the moment? In this video, I'm going to share a nice, simple process that's going to enable you to see through that block so that you can start making progress once more. I'm also going to share two really common traps that we can fall into, which get us stuck in the first place, and how not to fall into them. So the way we work through a block or a place where we've really got stuck is to see beyond the block. Now, the way that I would describe this with a client is if you imagine that the moment that you've got stuck or that moment you found yourself in a block is basically as far as your thinking goes. So if you imagine a neural pathway in your mind and it takes you to this very point, but up until this moment, you don't know how to think any further. So it might be that you came up with an idea, like a new idea for a business or a new idea for a story or a new idea for a creative project. And so the idea is sparked and that neural pathway takes you to a certain point in that idea and then it just stops. You can't see how to develop that idea anymore. You can't see where the story goes. You can't see the next step in your creative project. And so often what happens here is we then turn around and we come right back to the beginning. So we're very used to making that first section of the journey, but then we often find that we get stuck. And so that's how we get into these cycles. We're always getting stuck. We're always getting to a certain point of progress, but we're not getting any further. So the way that I would work with a client here is to teach them how to see beyond the block. Now, there's various ways that I would teach a client how to do this. So in the process that I'm going to share with you today, we're going to use a metaphor. I absolutely love using metaphors. It helps the mind see something beyond that which it's allowing itself to see. So for example, say you've come up with an idea and you've reached a block. Often it's because we can't see where that idea goes. We can't think of what happens next. By using a metaphor, so for example, if you imagine a flower opening out from a bud and coming into this beautiful, full, open array of petals, that's how you can imagine something going from being stuck to opening. So how are you going to do this? How are you going to use the metaphor and bring it into relation with your current idea? So what you're going to do is very, very simply get to the place where you've thought as far as you can think with your project. So get right up to the block. So it might be that you think of the last scene that you wrote. It might be that you think of the idea that you're trying to develop that you can't see any further. So you basically take it to its furthest point. So you run it through in your mind, your idea, your project, and you get to the moment that you're like, okay, that's it. I literally can't see anything else. And then you stop thinking about that idea and you bring the metaphor into your mind. Now you can use any metaphor. It can be a flower starting as a bud and opening. You might see a car on a road and you might imagine the car being stationary and then driving forward. But you want to use a metaphor that shows you progress, that shows you development. You might imagine a little kitten growing and turning into a cat and then running and jumping up onto a wall. Whatever metaphor you use, you want it to show a story of evolution. So something becoming something else. Like I said, the bud turning into a flower, the car going from stationary to moving forward, a kitten turning into a cat. And so this metaphor is teaching your mind that your own project is the same. It becomes symbolic. And so you understand that your project hasn't hit a point where it will never progress. It's simply an evolution. And so when you visualize this metaphor, when you imagine the metaphor, it's going to start to trigger your mind to allowing growth with your project as well. Now, a really, really key step is to imagine how it feels, okay? When we get stuck, it can be very frustrating. Sometimes it can be quite scary as well, or we can get into this very heavy way of feeling where we're just like, oh, I'm so tired of this. Like, I really want to progress with my career. I really actually want to finish something. Like, I'm so bored of always getting stuck. We can feel quite tense. So when we're imagining the metaphor, you want to imagine what it feels like to get to that next phase in your project. You want to imagine how wonderfully exciting it is to be able to take your mind into a new way of thinking so that you invite fresh ideas to come in. You really want to start imagining how it feels on the other side of that block, that beautiful stretch of road that's available for you to travel down, that cute little kitten that's growing into a cat, and the life ahead of the cat. Again, it's your project, the life ahead of that project, how your project is growing and evolving, and it's really exciting, and you're going to take it to the next phase, and then you're going to be able to come up with more ideas, and you're going to be able to use your metaphor to keep growing and developing and see that project into this blossoming flower. So that's how we use metaphor to take us beyond that place of stuck, by enabling us to see and feel beyond the block. Now, here's where we can fall into a couple of traps. But first of all, I just want to make sure that you've got the process up until now. So if there's anything I've said that's confused you, or if you're not sure what metaphor to use, do feel free to pop stuff in the comments below. I also want to add that I am live every week in my Facebook community. It's a great way for people to check in with me if they are practicing these processes. So please do come and join us in the Write No Matter What community. You will find a link in the comments below, and then you'll be able to join me live. You'll be able to come into the community and really make progress on your creative dreams. So we're practicing the visualization. We're using that metaphor to really enable us to get beyond the block, to really enable us to feel how wonderful it is to get unstuck and to start making progress. Two really common traps that we can fall into. First one is when we start to imagine that metaphor, we don't invite that feeling in. So we're imagining the metaphor, we're imagining coming unstuck, but what we're thinking and feeling is, this won't last, I'll probably get stuck again. So what's happening here is that we're opening up our mind to think about something new, which is encouraging that neural pathway to keep going. But then we're telling our mind about something that's already happened. I'm probably going to get stuck just like I did last week. And so rather than being able to move forward, your brain has suddenly been told to start remembering stuff. So that's a really common trap we get into. We're accessing parts of our mind that create new, but just at that moment, because we're not feeling it, we're actually telling our mind to just go back and start thinking about the past. So that's one trap that we can get into. The second one is that we're starting to imagine coming up with an idea, but we're beginning to tense because we're already afraid of when that idea runs out and we next get stuck again. Once more, we've got stuck in past thinking. So if you find that happening, you want to imagine this new, you want to use the metaphor, really see that evolution, really hold that feeling of excitement. If you start to feel that tension of like, oh God, but like I'm feeling an idea coming in, but I don't know how long it's going to last. Again, come back to the metaphor, see the future and think, it's all right. If I get stuck again, I'm going to be able to find my way through again. So we're no longer fearing that place where we get stuck, because we're building our confidence that no matter how many times we get stuck, we've got a real kick-ass process that enables us to see beyond the block and keep going. So you're really making sure those feelings stay fresh. You're really making sure that those feelings are supporting where you want to send your mind. So you're feeling the future. You're letting go of the past, whatever has blocked you or kept you stuck until now, and you keep coming to that feeling beyond the block. the idea that's calling you, sending your thoughts into that future place. It's a really, really powerful processes that will enable you to create the life that you want, earn what you want to, doing exactly what you want to. If you like the idea of this, then you are going to love my free download. There's a free video, Create, Live and Earn the Way That You Want. You can grab it in the link in the comments below, and you'll also get a secret link that's going to enable you to register for a free live class with me. You'll be able to come and join the community and really start to learn some powerful techniques, amazing tips and ways to have an impact and also have the income that you want from your writing, from your imagination, doing whatever it is you want to do. Really beautiful to share this technique with you today, guys. So grateful that you're joining me here on the sofa. Wishing you a really beautiful rest of week, and I will see you next Monday. Take care.